Hi, boys and girls. Today's math lesson is from the Pearson Realize. Um, it's going to be Unit 11, which is the topic of two-dimensional shapes and their attributes. So this week is topic 11, the geometry unit. Again, it's somewhat review from 4th grade, but it's good to review and make sure we understand it to the best of our ability. They're going to ask us a little newer things that they didn't in 4th grade. So I want to go over lesson 11.1 and 11.2 in this video. That is today, Tuesday's lesson. So I'm going to give you just a preview. You also should see on the assignment there are 2 sheets that are pushed out to you. A vocabulary sheet on geometry terms, and then I have given you an audio with that. You won't see me, you'll just hear me. And the other one is a teaching sheet or a teaching tool. And let me make sure I know what number that is. That's number 44. Teaching tool number 44, where you're going to see some quadrilaterals. So first let's talk about polygons, 11.1. They're going to talk about polygons. They're going to talk about closed figures as polygons. So let's review the types of polygons. I have a triangle. You notice that the triangle has 3 sides and 3 vertices. So a polygon of the closed figure is going to have the same number of sides that they have as vertices. So we have triangle. You have a quadrilateral, which is also a square, which is going to be talked about in the next lesson. You also have a 4-sided figure here, which is also a quadrilateral. Okay, so they're going to talk about what type of quadrilateral is that in the next part of this video. We also have another 4-sided figure. Again, you're going to find out what type of quadrilateral. You could say to yourself out loud what you know it is already. Excellent work. And then I'm going to have a 5-sided figure, which I don't have an example of that. You might in your mind know where you have seen a 5-sided figure. I have put that onto the my clue page that you are going to find in this week's lessons to try to make up 3 clues on different shapes for me. So we're going to be looking at that later, but you can find it if you want to. Then I've got a 6-sided figure, which is the yellow one here. And a 6-sided figure is called a hexagon. A hexagon, okay? You also will find 8-sided figures, which is 8 sides, called an octagon. You may know where you're going to find that. I think I see it when I'm rolling up and I stop. Excellent. In my car, you have to stop at some sidewalks, okay? And then a 10-sided figure is called a decagon. D-E-C-A, decagon. And that comes from, if you remember our metric measurement unit, deca, okay, is part of the metric system. So excellent. So those are the figures that mainly you're going to focus on. And so when you do your practice page 11.1, or if I have pushed out and the quick check 11.1 for you, they're just going to ask you to name the different polygons. I wouldn't worry about them saying convex or concave. I'm not real worried about that understanding right now in our vocabulary. Okay, so you should be able to figure out 11.1 with no problem after my mini lesson. Yes. So 11.2, I'm going to show you my whiteboard, and I'm going to tell you that the teaching tool 44 goes with this lesson. You are welcome to print that out, cut those out, or just sort them by naming those quadrilaterals. So I'm going to turn my camera onto my whiteboard. I want you to pay attention to the different ones that I have up here for you to recognize the different quadrilaterals, which all have 4 sides. Okay, so let's look if we can define them. I've named them for you and I've drawn them for you. So I'm going to make sure that you can see them. So I'm going to position my computer in a way that shows you all of them. All right. Let's see. That's not working as well as I thought. So I apologize for that. Let me move my thing so I can move back my computer. A little better, little better. Okay. Sorting the quadrilaterals. And I've given you the 5 different quadrilaterals that you're going to find in that lesson. Okay. So in sorting the quadrilaterals, I'm seeing a trapezoid, a parallelogram, a rectangle, a rhombus, and a square. I know that you are very familiar with the square. Okay. The square then has 4 equal sides, 4 equal angles. So that is definitely going to be a perfect square. Okay. So the 4 right angles and all the sides are the same length. All right. If I put 2 sides or 2 squares together, you notice 2 squares together are going to make my rectangle. Okay. Maybe you'll notice here my rectangle. And it's 2 squares together. Similar to a square, a rectangle is just a little bit different, and they describe that as 4 right angles or square corners. I know there are 4 right angles, okay, in the square, but all sides are equal on a square, where in a rectangle, not all sides are equal, okay? There are 2 sides equal and 2 other sides, or 2 pairs of sides equal in a rectangle. So that makes what a square and a rectangle a little bit different. A rhombus looks very much like a square, but it's tilted, which is fascinating. And a parallelogram looks like a rectangle, but it is tilted also. So let's take a look and listen to what the differences are in the definitions. Let's think rhombus first. All sides are the same length. Okay. Well, aren't squares the same length? I noticed they're very similar, and I wonder what makes a rhombus different than a square. Maybe you want to post that information underneath the lesson to give us some more information that you know or you have researched what makes a rhombus different than a square. Good thinking, boys and girls. Thanks for being my helpers in learning. What about the parallelogram? That definitely looks very much like the rectangle. And so the definition of parallelogram says it is 2 pairs of parallel lines. Well, it says the opposite sides are the same length and the opposite angles are the same size. So the opposite angles are the same size. I'm wondering what makes a parallelogram different than a rectangle. If you have that answer, go ahead and post it underneath the assignment so we can all see what you're thinking. Thanks for sharing your thinking. So one more thing that I noticed that the book is telling me is that a rhombus right here is a special kind of parallelogram. And if you know the answer of what makes it special or how it's a special kind of parallelogram, please post that. We would love to know your ideas. And so then when you look at practice 11.2 and quick check or enrichment 11.2, you're going to see that you're going to need to name these quadrilaterals, and you're going to recognize them, and you're going to start to give description to them and figure out how are they different? How are they alike? So having that conversation now with yourself, with a parent, would be very helpful for the next lesson for Wednesday, which you're going to be classifying the shapes and finding out how to describe the classifications in those. Thank you for listening, boys and girls, and enjoy the rest of the math day.